Hey friends, Andy Jenkins with the Warrior Hope podcast, where what we do is connect veterans to their next mission. Now, we really think this is important. The most common obstacles that we see in this are, and we say this every single episode, isolation. So trying to do it on your own, and unresolved hurts. That's unprocessed pain from the past. We really think that it's important that you work through both of those because number one, you've got another mission, okay? And it's going to connect with your purpose. It's going to connect with other people. Some of those people that are depending upon you to live out that mission are, first of all, your family. Second, your friends. Others include fellow service members. These are all people who, the language that we say is, had your six, you had their six, you still have it, you still need them, they still need you to move forward. Now, in this episode of the Warrior Hope podcast presented by Crosswinds Foundation for Faith and Culture, I'm talking with my friend Sabrina Fears. Now, she is a U.S. Air Force veteran. She's got a really great story about how she came from a military family of people who were in the Army, of soldiers, but then made that transition and went to the Air Force. And then, of course, she talks about what was it like when you make the transition from the Air Force back to being a civilian. I think you're going to pick up a lot of great tips and takeaways here today with my friend. I'm going to roll right into it. This is Sabrina Fears. Okay, so I'm here with our friend Sabrina Fears. Now, I always check the names to make sure that I pronounce them the right way. And she said, yeah, it's just like you're scared. So if, like when you read this, that's exactly it. Now, Sabrina, we met you through some of the Warrior Hope events that we were doing, some of the training specifically. I remember I met you, I think it was right before COVID, because we were training and we're about to release the Warrior Hope curriculum at the time. We're filming it that weekend here in Birmingham, Alabama. And we had people from all over that had come in. It's people from New York, people from, I think there were some from Mississippi, from Florida, Atlanta, just a bunch of Chicago area. And then we had people like you that were right down the road that we had never met, that were really close. And you had been involved with Tech South, who was, of course, a friend and supporter of Crosswinds for quite some time with Staff Oderkirk. Talk to us about kind of the bridge there from getting involved with an employee at Tech South that is a military contractor and service veterans to getting involved, just showing up to get trained.
Well, I've been with Tech South for 19 years. And I met staff, through Tech South. I had been working with Tech South right before staff started working with Tech South. And when he became the vice president of the company, I would come in early in the morning. Since I live so far, I would drive in at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning just so I could beat the Birmingham traffic. So usually I'm always the first one in the building. And then he would come in. Yeah, so and he would come in because he would go run, with the owner of the company, with Steve sometime early in the morning, and he would come on in around about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he noticed that I was always there, and I would beat him because usually he's used to being up before dawn, beating everyone there. Yes. So we started talking quite a bit, and that became my routine. And we would talk early in the morning. That's where we have our little chit chat and how's the family and, just personal things, just see how everything's going. And then we talk about, things in the company and stuff like that. So one day he just asked me if I wanted to go to the training for you guys. And I was like, yeah, that'd be, be very interesting. So that's how I, got into getting a chance to meet you guys. But I also was going to the it was the Warrior concerts that you guys would have every year.
Yeah, the Songs of Hope events.
Yeah, the Songs of Hope. So that was my first interaction with you guys, and I enjoyed it. But how I became a employee with Tech South was that's a long story. I guess I had to go way back in order to get to there. I right out of high school, I started at Jacksonville State University.
Okay.
And so I have a sibling that's 2 years younger than me. So she graduated high school. She went to Talladega. So my dad was trying to pay for both of us to go to school. And then my mom decided she wanted to go back to school. So now Dad's trying to pay for three people.
Three students.
So at that time, I said, me, you being the oldest, you're always trying to do something that's going to try to help the family, although, you don't know what it's going to be. So I decided I can go in the military. I was working on the side with my uncle as a bail bondsman and bounty hunter as well. So I said, well, I guess I can do the military too.
You were a bounty hunter?
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't have, if I had a lineup at any of these, events that we've had, and you said, pick out the one that's the bounty hunter, I would have not have picked out, I would have not picked you out of the line. I'm always surprised.
I get that a lot.
By who is.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. It's always surprising. Like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I get that reaction every time. So I'm used to it.
I should make sure I heard you right. So you were a bounty hunter and a bail bondsman, and then you're going to go to the military.
Yeah. So I said, well, I guess I can go in the military, and when I was discussing these things with my uncle, because our family is a military family.
Okay.
So, but my grandfather, my uncles, my dad, and they were all saying, okay, yeah, they were all Army though. And my dad said, well, if you go in, I would rather you go into the Air Force instead of the Army. I was like, okay, I can do that.
What was his logic for that? So the military thing wasn't elite, because, that would have been kind of a normal family decision, but
right.
Why Air Force?
Well, there is this persona that the Air Force is not as harsh as the Army, but I find that I find to differ. And so it was during the time right after Saudi Arabia and all of the attacks and 911. I mean, everything was, everything was going on with the war and everything. So at that time, when I passed the ASVAB, they said, well, you scored high enough where you can be a medical tech, but it's a 2-year wait. And I was like, I don't have 2 years to wait. I need to go now because I need to get this burden off my dad. So he's like, well, the only thing we have open is maintenance and security police. I was like, okay, that's a no-brainer. So security police, I can do that.
You're a bounty hunter. Yeah,
I'm a bounty hunter. Not a problem. I can do that. I can handle that. So they went ahead and signed me up. I told my uncles first. I didn't tell my dad. My mom didn't know any of this was going on. So mom didn't know baby was about to leave.
Oh, you're running this whole play on the side. Okay. Yeah.
So when I went ahead and signed up and I had my date to depart, I wound up telling my dad, I was like, hey, I'm going in the military on this day. He's like, okay, so I thought they said it was a wait on the medical field. I said, well, I don't want to wait. I want to go ahead and go. So he had a hard time taking that in, that I was going to be security police, because he didn't want me to do that. Yeah. But, at the time I was ready to go. You know, at that age, you think you're grown anyway. So you're ready to
and you think
leave
you're
mom
running
and
out of
dad's house.
time. Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Like when you're 18, 19, 20, 21, you think like, oh, I'm running out of time. Like I got to do. And then you get to like your 40s, close to 50, and you think, God, why was I in such a rush? Like,
right.
Kind of got all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's odd.
So I was like, okay. So I went ahead and I went to the MEPS down in Montgomery, came back, got my original my date that I was going to be departing, and I let everybody know. We had a going away party for me and everything, dinner for, you know, friends and family. And the day that I was leaving, my brother had to be rushed to the emergency room because he was having an appendicitis attack and it was an emergency surgery. So mom didn't even get a chance to see me off. Dad did, but my mom. And so that was making me a little bit nervous because I was leaving when my brother was having a issue and it was emergency surgery for him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to basic and everything. So the night comes, you sleep, you get up the next morning, flying out, get to Texas, and the first thing you hear is, Fears, what are you scared of? So I hear that. I heard that quite a bit doing basic.
And they probably all think it's an original joke, but
yeah. But I getting through that and everything, going through the training, it was interesting. It wasn't any harder than the things that I had already been going through, from having to look for people who were skipping on their buns. So, you know, it was pretty interesting. So my first duty station was at Barksdale Air Force Base. And at the time, it was the only base that they was pretty much sending security police to, besides Minot. Why not Minot? But they were sending us to Barksdale because they was doing the reconstruction of the fencing system for the restricted area for the ordnance area. And so that's where I was
location stuck. What location were you at?
Like Shreveport.
Put us on the map. Okay.
If you're on I-20, it's like 30 minutes from the Texas border line, and not too far from Texarkana. So you're not that far from Arkansas. So you're right on the Texas border, Arkansas border, and in Louisiana.
Okay.
So it's not that far. It's straight down 20. You're about I guess about 2.5, 3 hours from Vicksburg, and two and a half hours from Dallas.
Many times through there.
So after I did my 4 years at Barksdale, then I came back home, and I started working for this company in Anniston called Communication Associates, where I met this guy named Greg. And he was the network support guy there. So at the time, I worked there for about 6 years. And then they started sending a lot of things over to Mexico. So, but before, so he stopped working there and went to TechSouth because they were minimizing their network support system side of the building. So he decided to go, and he started working at TechSouth. Well, I was still at Communication Associates, and they started sending me over to Mexico to start training everybody. And my last trip over there, I come back, and then they tell me, hey, well, you trained everybody over there. We're moving all the quality department to Mexico, so we're going to lay you off. So boom, I trained myself out of a job.
That's below the belt.
So I trained myself out of a job. So temporarily I was looking for another job. So I started working at this telecommunication company, and I worked there for 6 months. I hated that job. I worked the night shift, and you do not know how many crazy people are in the state of Alabama or in this world. They will call all times of the night just asking crazy questions, or you would be amazed some of the things people will do and call 411 and say or do while they're on the phone talking to an operator. You'll be surprised.
I don't think I used to work helping people off drugs, off the streets, out of prison, human trafficking. Like, I don't think, addiction, I don't think I would be surprised.
Yeah. So some of the conversations, some of them would just call just because they're lonely and they just wanted to talk.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. And then some would call just for, how can I say it? They just needed someone to listen to them while they're doing things in the background. If you get my drift. And I was like, it's sick people, very sick people. So I worked there for about 6 months. And one day Greg called me and he's like, hey, I'd heard that you're not with the other company anymore. I said, no. He said, you looking for another job? I said, yes, I am. Definitely am.
Yeah.
He said, you mind driving to Gardendale? I said, no, I don't mind driving to Gardendale. He said, well, we have a position open as a QA manager here. And we are opening up, we have another product that we need a quality person for. I was like, sure, I'll come and interview for it. So I did. So he didn't interview me, but another person interviewed me. So they hired me. And before I got there, and I had known Greg for 6 years, and Greg was prior Marine. And so he got to know not just me as a person as working, but my personality as well. And so in Tech South, I work with mostly men. On the end where I am with mostly developers, it's mostly men. And he had told them all these different things, like she's this, she's mean, she'll tell you off, So I didn't know this. Now I do have a personality that a lot of people wouldn't expect.
Because you got the bounty hunter side, but that's like you're probably like Jekyll and Hyde. When you got to pull it out, you pull it out. You put it
when
up.
I pull it out, when I have to, I do. But when there's no necessary for it to come out, so I try to, I allow people to see this side of me. I call that that other personality Contilia. That's my middle name. You never want to see Contilia.
That's funny.
So Contilia was built while I was in the military. Because before I went in the military, I was very calm, quiet, didn't talk very much. But military formed a different personality.
Okay, tell me about that. Like, what did it form? I mean, obviously, it brought out some things that that could be. I don't want to say the word dangerous. I mean, it could be if you bring out the wrong skill set at the wrong time. But if it awakens something new, what did it bring out of you as a young adult that could serve you well later on?
It made me a lot more aggressive. I can say I have a temper now, and I try to control it a lot more.
Yeah.
It made me not have any patience at all. I would snap at the slight of anything. my sleeping pattern changed a lot. Sometimes, I can be in a dead sleep and I can hear, the smallest thing in another room, and then I'll wake straight up. Okay. Is just being on alert all the time. If you're in a restaurant, and I go to a restaurant with someone, and we're sitting down for lunch or something, I don't like to sit with my back to the door. That's just something they taught us. You always face the door to make sure you're always alert.
Yeah.
So, always being on alert, high alert, at all times. It changed my personality a lot because you're always on edge.
Got it. Yeah, that it seems like I hear that a lot. Like that's, and I guess I would say, if somebody that's watching or listening right now senses that, feels that, that's how would you say it? I mean, that's a normal response to what you've been through. Like so they would know they're not alone. Like this is, I think sometimes, we interview and talk with some people that are military personnel or past military, they're veterans, and they feel like maybe something's wrong with them, or something's not quite right. And, kind of want to simultaneously just say, hey, okay, I get it, see that, but also join the crowd in the sense that, hey, like you're not off, you're not weird, you're not. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
it's hard to have good language for that.
So
it does change you.
Yeah, it changed. When the military say they build their soldiers, they literally do. They break you down to build you to be what they need you to be. And if you're not strong-minded, it could break you. It could break you, literally break you. They're even during basic, we had a female that was slicing her wrist because she couldn't handle it anymore. It's just basic training. And even in my MOS, they were, the divorce and suicide rate is so high because you're constantly away from your family, and you're on TDY or you're always working long hours. I always tell people, yes, it's the Air Force, but in the Air Force, you have the regular Air Force, and then you have security police and maintenance. We were our own field pretty much because we worked totally different hours than everybody else in the Air Force. Everyone else had 9 to 5.
Right.
Our typical work day would be a 12, 13-hour shift. And that's coming from, getting up, going to guard mount, and having to be deployed out. So if you're out in security, there's no telling how far you're going to be deployed out from, regular base. And you're out there all day. And you may see somebody, you may not, throughout the day. And then by the time you come home, the bus pick you back up to take you back in. That 13 hours getting back to the guard mount area, and turning in your weapon of duty, and then getting home, laying down. You really don't have time to do anything. But security police, we did. I think that's where I started drinking the most, because that's all we had to do was work and drink and party. So
there's no time for anything else, really.
No, because we were always on call. If you're not on leave, you have to be prepared to deploy out at any time. So you never know. That's even if it's something to have to deploy overseas. you may have to deploy right there in town. Like for instance, 1 year, one of the B-52s was coming in for a touchdown, and the engines fell off. And the state of Louisiana is pretty much swamp. You have a lot of swamp areas. Yeah. So the engines fell off in the swamp. So where the engines fell off, that's where we had to post. And you're out there in the middle of nowhere.
In a swamp. Yeah.
In a swamp. Yeah. Protecting that property. So, it is different. It's totally different. Security police and LE and maintenance, we were different from the regular Air Force. It wasn't like the regular Air Force. It was a totally different job.
Yeah, I guess on some of that, you ended up going where the need was, and you might even know what that's going to be. So it would be really hard to have kind of a nailed down job description. Certain things you'd be able to describe, certain things you'd just be like, hey, we just have to figure it out when we get there. I mean, there's no way you can plan to be guarding something inside of an inner city and then know that the next week you might be in a swamp. That's it was two totally different things. Talk to me about some of the things that were struggles that you from military you brought back with you. Like you when you get out, one of the things that you hear over and over is that the U.S. military does an incredible job of building a soldier, building what they need, a warrior, but doesn't do such a great job of helping them come back and make the transition back to civilian life, back to home. And so that struggle back, like that seems to be kind of a very real, common, repeated part of everyone's story. I mean, I would say that of the people I've talked to, the people who don't have some kind of challenge coming back home, that would be those are the exceptions.
I mean, with the military, it's structured. You have structure. Everything is structured. And civilian world, there's no structure. Yeah, it's chaos. I hated civilians when I got out. I hated people. I hated civilians. It took me years to get past that. Working in my regular job, I hated them because they had no structure.
What's something that you would hate that something somebody would do or say or mindset or whatever that would just like,
just how how things were kept neat and how we have procedures. You knew every day what your procedure was, what you had to do. The people that that would be over you in the military, you knew how they were all times. You knew what to expect. In the civilian world, you never knew. You never knew what you were going to get at all. Right. You never knew what their mindset was going to be. You never knew what kind of personality they were going to have that day. You never knew what they wanted you to do, how they were going to talk, and then sometimes you would be expecting in the military for them, they talk to you a certain way, but there's a type of respect, that they give you as they're talking to you. In the civilian world, there's no respect. They have that mindset of it's me or nothing.
Right.
There's no respect at all. So when they talk to you, the way that they talk to you, it make you snap because that's not what you're used to. And right. So you have to learn how to control your temper and your attitude. it's a learning progress. You're having to learn once, because at first you don't really realize what's going on until someone else tells you, and it's up to you to decide if you're going to try to control it, or if you're going to try to figure out what's going on and try to deprogram yourself. And it's hard. I mean, there's times even now that I know that the things that I think in my personality and the way I respond to people or has a lot to do with how I was trained, because it's just certain things would just get on my nerves,
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like, why are you so uptight about that? I'm like, I don't know, and I go back and I think, I was like, why am I?
Yeah.
Why does this bother me so much? So yeah, it sticks with you. I once you're a soldier, you're always a soldier. It never changes. You may learn how to tame it down, but that soldier mentality never goes away.
I think that's helpful for people to hear that, from you, so they know, obviously people struggle with that. Veterans do struggle with that. And so to hear somebody say, hey, look, that mentality is probably not going to go away, but you can learn to adapt, and learn to see things from a different perspective. It's okay to question, why do I see it like this? It's okay to process through that and realize, okay, this is a great response when I'm outside the wire. This is not a great response when I'm at the Home Depot. This is so it's but having the ability to actually go, hey, it's okay to question this stuff. It's okay to walk through this stuff. Tell me, like, what's advice like you would give to somebody, because I've got about 5 minutes left, that would that's making that transition from soldier to civilian. Now, whether they're coming out now, or it was 15, 20 years ago, and they're just now wondering, like, yeah, I need to make some adjustments. Like, what's the advice you would give somebody, no matter where they're at on the timeline, just as far as...
I wish somebody would have told me about meditating and journaling. That has helped me the most, but I didn't pick that up until about 10 years ago. And that has helped me tremendously, because when I'm having those emotions, the uncontrollable urges, I go and I write, and I journal, and I write a lot. I even write to myself. I write to the people that have damaged me. I go and I just write. I don't send it to them, but I write it, then I read it, then I go burn it. But it's like it's a relief. Yeah. But just journaling and meditating and staying in the present of the things that I'm thankful for, and every day I just make it my mind that I'm going to say thank you when I get out the bed, because there's so many things that I could have, ways I could have went down the road that I've come. So I'm thankful for everything. So I try to keep that thankful mindset, but just meditating, listen to meditation music like I do now. I constantly listen to meditation music, some type of meditation music through YouTube, and I'm constantly journaling and writing. I have notebooks everywhere. I keep one with me at all times. So if I may be in a car, or I might be at work, or I might be at the doctor's office and something may happen, I write about it. I just write and how I feel, how it made me feel, why I feel that way, what I thought I perceived about it, what I thought I saw. how that person was acting, and and how I wanted to respond. And I just write everything down. I just journal. I just write.
Well, doctor, that's great advice. Doctors say that writing something, I mean, brain doctors, it's a completely different neurological process than just thinking about it. Like when you write it, like you're processing what you're writing right then, you're processing at the same time what you just wrote, you're processing what's about to come. Like somehow it actually helps your mind work through stuff in a way different manner than simply thinking about it. Like it's like there's something to it. Like there's, you're getting your full self. That's great advice. And so to be clear, like you're writing not to publish or writing not to send it out to everybody or not writing to overshare it on social media. Like you're writing for you to help yourself. Yeah. And so I think that's helpful for people to realize too, is like you don't have to write this and worry about it being perfect because you're not going to send it out to the world. Like you're writing it. This is, unfiltered for you to process through, good, bad, ugly, great, all of that. That's super advice. Anything else that you want to say?
All I can say is just continue to stay thankful. I know it's hard sometimes with the thoughts that come through your mind, but be thankful regardless, because it could be so much worse because you are still here. And be thankful that you could still talk to your family and you can help other veterans and talk to them and help them through what you're going through, because a lot of people just don't know. They don't have anybody to talk to. I mean, sometimes you just don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to get it out and you don't know how, but just write. Just write until you can't write no more. Just keep writing, just write. It's like, I always look at it as far as Gump, just run till you can't run no more. So I write till I can't write no more.
That's funny. All right. So. Hey, I'm gonna end with that. I think that's great advice for people, is to process it, to write it out, to think through it. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your service in the past, which you continue to do today to connect with other people, to help them move forward. I've enjoyed this talk. I think you've helped a lot of people.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. Now, as always, I want to bring you my top 3 takeaways of the day. Okay, so here it is. Looking back, number 1 is it changes you. So when you go into the military, you go into service, whether you're deployed, whether you are serving stateside, anytime, whether you see combat, regardless of what's going on, it is a life-changing experience, and it changes you. There are multiple times where we'll hear the same thing over and over throughout some of the documentaries. Now we've shot 3 documentaries, Crosswinds has, and we'll hear something like, you don't deploy and then come back the same. It is an event that happens at a very pivotal time when you're transitioning really from those teen years into adulthood. It's a transitional period anyway. It is a major experience. It is high intensity, high alert. It changes you. And that's okay. It's to be expected. And so I hope that you picked that up from her. Here's takeaway number 2 is it's okay to adapt afterwards. It's okay to look back and question, hey, why am I now acting with this behavior pattern? Why now do I have these mindsets? Why now do I? Because the things that served you well during deployment may or may not always serve you well after deployment. So certainly the skill sets that you picked up, the camaraderie, the ability to just work intensively on something and seeing it to conclusion, the scheduling and the structure and the leadership, all of those skills that you've acquired do serve you well. But sometimes the way that we carry out some of those soft skills may not serve us well in all situations. It's okay to question that. And it's okay to just continue to adapt to an ever-changing situation. I appreciated how Sabrina said that. Here's the third takeaway is she talked at the end, I hope you picked this up, about journaling and about meditation. In fact, when we first got on the Zoom call to record this, she asked me, she said, hey, can you hear the music I've got in the background? She had music playing the entire time. I couldn't hear it. I don't think you could hear it. I haven't picked it up, but she said, yeah, it's just my meditation music. Here's what she has done is grabbed hold of some tools that serve her well. And what I would say to you is, if the journaling would help you, I would try it out. If you've never tried it, I would try it for sure, but you need to get some tools that are going to help you. Let's face it, life is beautiful. Life is also difficult. It's hard. And so it already carries enough chaos of its own, and you add some of the wounds, some of the hurts, some of just the hard, difficult experiences that as a veteran that you might be carrying right now. You deserve to grab hold of some tools to help you move forward faster with just a little bit more ease and a little bit less friction, okay? That's it. Again, I'm Andy Jenkins. I'm about to sign off. Before I do, let me remind you, as we do every single week, that what we do here on the Warrior Hope podcast is we connect veterans to their next mission. The most common obstacles that we see in that quest are these two: isolation, so trying to do it alone, and unresolved hurts, unprocessed pain from the past. Your next mission, it matters because you have a purpose. You were designed by God to fulfill, and there are people that are going to be affected by you living out that mission. Those people, they include your family, your friends, fellow warriors, fellow service members. These are people who all, as we say right here, you had their six, they had yours. They still need you. You still need them to connect to the next mission. Wherever you're listening from, I would love it if you would leave us a comment. Let us know some of your top takeaways from today. Subscribe from whatever platform you're on. As always, there are links down in the show notes where you can connect with Crosswinds Foundation for Faith and Culture. I'm Andy Jenkins signing off. I will see you again in the next episode.